I say is alleged, my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only.
And if you like the content that I'm putting out, come on down in them comment sections. Let's conversate, like, comment, and subscribe. And just know that I appreciate you guys. Let's get into this commentary. So we're about to talk about Lexi, who did an interview with Giving You the Real. I think that's his name. Hold on, let me find out. Giving You the Real T is his YouTube channel. I feel like he did a wonderful job with this interview. He asked some very, very good questions, and he did a good job. I'm just going to do a recap and give you how I feel about this. Now, I could see things from a daughter point of view, and I could see things from a mother's point of view who has a daughter who can't stand her father to this moment, okay? Because of a similar situation. I'm going to give you a quick story as a daughter. Now, my father was in my life up until I was about, let's say, 7 or 8. I was daddy's girl. I was the baby of the family. He was my hero. But once him and my mom separated, I was that child sitting on the stoop. I'm from Brooklyn all day, every day, waiting for my dad to show up. Because he made promises of what he was going to do, how we was going to go out, and he never showed up. So you can imagine the disappointment. And I'll never forget this time, he, in his quest to show up and take me somewhere, he actually took me to one of his women houses, okay, because my papa was a Rolling Stone, okay. And I'll never forget, when we went in there, they left me in the living room and they went to the back. Now, as a 5-year-old, of course, I didn't know what that was. But now I know what that was. Very disrespectful. Now, mind you, he was still with my mother at this time. The next thing I remember is growing up, playing with these kids. They lived around the corner in the next building. Even went to school with the daughter. Let me give a little clarification. They were not his kids, okay? We were all in the same age range. She had 2 boys and a daughter. Only to realize that my father was with their mother. So can you imagine growing up playing with these children and you had no clue that your father was living with their mother? He playing house and daddy to these children, but disappeared on us. I say all this to say is, men, you have got to do better. Leaving us with these traumas and shit. I'm actually over it, but I like to tell a story because I actually forgave him. Of course, as I got older, I forgave him for me because I didn't want to hold on to that stuff. And that's what I would like for Lexi to get and find healing. For my daughter, it was a situation where, he was a Rolling Stone too. He actually married somebody and we were still married. But in all of that, he had a bunch of kids. And we found out, of course, from his mother, because I didn't keep in touch with him, that, he was doing this for this child, doing this for that child. But his firstborn daughter, he act like she didn't exist. So my daughter cannot stand him to this day. Now, don't get me wrong. He tried to restore their relationship, but he tried to restore their relationship as her being a grown woman, but wanted to treat her like she was that child that he left. So he was still stuck where he left her, but she done grown up already. But let's go on. Enough about my story, okay? I feel like, Chris dropped the ball in facilitating, the relationships between himself, Nell, the children, the other children, as she called the Fletchers. I feel like Lexi was operating from a place of hurt and unresolved hurt. I feel like there was a lot of expectations with no communication, some bitterness because Lexi feels like the other children were treated better and she wasn't. She felt like the outsider. And I also feel like it was a lot of sarcasm and plenty of jabs thrown at Nell, aka Lernell, which I think was a little unfair, in my opinion. The first thing I was thinking with this interview was like, oh my God, Pandora's box is about to be open. Like, why did she decide to do this interview? Again, I ain't mad at Lexi for feeling the way she feel. It's her trauma, it's how she feel, and she has a right to that. Okay? She said she do not care if they get mad and they are no longer her family, and she has not spoken to them since that dinner on TV, which was in June of 2022. I was stuck. I was like, wow, that's almost a year and a half later. So she lets us know that she lives in Nashville and has a lot of family in Huntsville, not the Fletchers, okay? Claims that her stepfather is her father. He's been in her life since she was 5 or something like that. Lexi says she's completely different from the Fletchers because she did not grow up with them. She says she's never spent time with Chris, never been alone with Chris, and it's because of his wife, Nell. She would not let her spend any time with her dad, and she does not really know Chris. And the only question I had after she said that was, after watching this interview completely, was, if you didn't spend time with them, how can you have so much to say about them and what they do in this interview? It was confusing to me. She said that Nell was the woman that broke up her and Chris's marriage and got pregnant while they were married. She called Nell the side chick. She said Chris has always been absent in her life. She said they always wanted to be on reality TV from the time she has been around the family. Lexi said she was worried that when they came on this reality show that a bunch of women would come out the woodworks because he cheated with a bunch of women on Nell. She was worried about their businesses and their house and how they obtained all the stuff in their house. And I was just like, what does that have to do with anything? How they got their stuff? Now, in my opinion, you know, they've been working for over, I don't know how many years. You know, maybe they started humble, but they worked their way up to amass a little bit of a fortune. So I don't see nothing wrong with that. It just came off as leaving questions and doubts in the minds of the people. Like a smear campaign, if you ask me. She said Nell and Chris are new to this money. She said she called them keeping up with the Joneses type of people, and that they're very materialistic and love labels. She said when it came to the dinner, she came to the dinner, her and her husband, under the pretense that they could promote their business. They have a CBD business, and thought it would be classy, but it's the Fletchers. She said she was looking forward to Nell's cooking because Nell could cook. And she was saying, why would they buy a big house when their kids are all grown? Because they want to. She speaks on Little Chris and said that, you know, when she finally got his number and they talked, he said that he don't go around the family because they're fake. She said the dinner blew up because the Fletchers started talking about her mother. And then in her next breath, she said it was the cousin Kiki that brought up her mother. And she said that her and her husband were, you know, high off the CBD, but she heard her mother's name. So that's where it all went out. She said she wanted to cuss Nell out since she was a little child. Child, why? She said Nell said she does this at all dinners. She said, what dinners? I never had dinner with them. And then proceeds to say that she's been to Thanksgiving dinners, Christmas dinners, holiday dinners a few times. So those are the dinners they talking about then, right? She said she's done with the Fletchers and their family, and really reflected on Nell, okay? She said they are not family. And then she said her husband, her white husband, said, if you ever bring my kids around those people, I will serve you with divorce papers. Okay, wait, let me take a minute now. According to Lexi, she's never been around them. So at what time were you around them for your children to be around them all that time? I'm not understanding. You claim you don't know them, so where is the smoke coming from? I get that you mad at your father because he wasn't there for you, like you think a father should be there. Okay, no, I know what it is. It's the hurt. It's the unresolved hurt, so I ain't even going. Child, her mother came into the interview. She said she is the reflection of her mother. That's why Nell hates her. Here we go. She mentioned Nell more than she mentioned Chris, if you ask. So when the mother comes on, giving you the real tea, says to the mother, is the source of the problem between Nell and Lexi is because of the things you said to her. She says no. We found out that it was the mother that invited the Fletchers to Lexi's wedding. She said she didn't want Lexi to regret or have no regrets. She said she paid for the pictures, for them to take pictures with Lexi or whatever. She said she encouraged the relationship with Chris and Lexi until the show. She said it was hard to see the comments about her daughter. So is this why the interview was being done? Because of the comments that were made about her? She said that, you know, her and Chris met when they were young. She said Chris cheated. It was a lot of women. It wasn't just Nell. So that debunks Lexi's story about the Nell breaking up her family. But Nell was the woman that she was one of the women that she spoke to and let Nell know that she was married. She said Nell was apologetic and gave Chris the business and said that she was going to leave Chris alone. But she later found out that Nell was pursuing him through some letters that she found. Now, I had more questions about that only because, you know, he was in the military. And you know, when you're in the military, you writing letters. Now, did you find these letters and realizing that Nell didn't know he was married? Because that's possible. If she had to call you to find out that he was married, the letters could have been before. So I guess we need a timeline on that. I just had a question about that. Because I was married to a military man too. And guess what? he had letters too. Okay. The mother said she was hurt because when Lexi came home, she was so hurt and said that Lexi said she didn't realize that they hated her so much. The mother revealed that Lexi has been chasing this relationship with Chris. Lexi said that the door is closed, and the mother said that, you know, healing needs to happen. And I agree. Lexi, her mother says she would not come on the show if they was asked her to come on the show. She said she is not interested. Lexi says she does not have a relationship with Chris and wants them to leave her alone. But according to you, you never around him. So is he really bothering you? You haven't spoken to him since June of 22. So is he really bothering you? Or are y'all bothered by the comments? That's where I had questions. Okay. She said that Chris has not reached out since the dinner, but sent her children Christmas gifts, but she sent them back. And then makes a statement to say, like, he didn't send nothing for my daughter's birthday or remember mine. Now, if I'm sending gifts to you and you sending them back, I ain't gonna try to send you no gifts and for you to send them back again. But, you know, that's just me. Maybe we need a little more elaboration on that, but okay. Like, you got to choose. You want him to send the gifts or you don't? She feels like the gifts were strategic. She feels like if anybody was to ask, he could say, well, I sent her gifts and she sent it back. But I also feel like that's just in your head. That's just something you made up in your mind because we don't know how Chris would have reacted. Lexi said they have other grandchildren. Those grandchildren are treated different from her children. Understood. But if you blocking them, sending gifts back, are you giving them the opportunity to treat your grandkids, your children, the same? Just a question. She tells us about this situation where, you know, she had a really mental breakdown with her anxiety and depression. She struggles with her mental health, and she wasn't on her meds, and she had a really low point. She said she spoke to Chris after that, and, you know, she let Chris know she went through this, and she said Chris was like, he didn't know, nobody told him, instead of him asking how she's doing. So she says Chris called her to ask if she wanted to come on the show. It'd be a good opportunity for her and her husband to promote their business. Now, the way she told this story, it made it seem like this all happened after the show, but it actually happened before they came on the show. She talks about Chris cheating with so many women while he was with Nell, and that it was a point where she ain't hear from Chris for 2 years, and she found out that Chris left Nell and their family to go live with his new girlfriend and her family. Child, Chris, you trifling.
If that ain't sounding like Martell, but, you know, hopefully Chris is reformed and know how important his family is.
This part of the interview, I was a little disturbed by, where she went into talking about the Fletchers and their business, bringing up Nell's mother, bringing up the son and his ex-wife, and how it'll be more entertaining for TV. But I also feel like that wasn't your business to tell. Your interview should have stayed with your relationship between Chris and maybe Nell and the children. But to tell their business like that wasn't cool. And we all know that in these reality shows, you may give that information, but the producer's going to edit the show to fit the narrative. I'm just like, is it me? Or for her to say that, you know, in the beginning of this interview, that she don't know these people, she ain't been around these people, she don't spend time with them. She sure had a lot to say about their business. Okay. So, Giving You the Real Tea asked her, what's the biggest takeaway? Her biggest takeaway from this interview was that the Fletchers are giving complete falsehood. She said pretty much she did this interview because her mom was hurt, because she was hurt, and want the commentators to leave her and her mother alone. So basically, when it all boils down to it, it's the comments sections that have them bothered, not really Chris and Nell.
Or the Fletchers, as she said.
That's what it sounded like to me. Again, at the end of the day, as I said in the beginning, I just really want her to heal. You can keep telling your story, but in telling your story, I hope you find healing.
It was the whole taking jabs at Nell for me. She had more heat for Nell than Chris. And Chris is her father. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about. What was the real reason she did this interview? I mean, maybe it's a healing point for her, but she ain't had to put people's business out there like that. Especially since you say you ain't never been around her. Because it was kind of giving, your mother was giving you that information, but, you know, I ain't want to say nothing. So, you got to be careful. What you put out there, you may get back. Okay? Look for y'all information to drop soon. Okay? Anyway, guys, that's all I got. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you know when my next video comes out, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.